Hey everyone. So I'm Shane Cooper, but I'm going to be doing a presentation today on procurement operations management. It's one of the new products with ServiceNow. It is kind of standing on its own because it can be used by a lot of different products, especially with integrations. It does utilize the out of the box old procurement plugin, but it's only a subsection of it. Just to make sure that everybody's in the right place, this is about procurement. So we are talking about the purchasing of anything. The difference with this now is that it actually rolls in full procurement. So if you've worked with any customers that have like ERP solutions or any other type of external procurement software, this is supposed to be that full suite. So we're looking at being able to roll in entire procurement departments into ServiceNow at this point. You can also do integrations with those other ERP solutions, and it makes it a little bit easier. One of the biggest additions that we have here is that we are now talking about suppliers as well. So previously you had vendors that you could work with, or manufacturers or publishers with the different product areas in ServiceNow. Now we're talking about actual suppliers where they have their own profiles in there. They are able to update that information and be able to maintain their own products. There is also a supplier collaboration portal to where suppliers can actually log in and maintain that information as well. One of the biggest benefits of that is the request for X, like RFX, RFPs, RFIs. That is where this really comes in handy, because a supplier can, so let's think about a grocery store. A lot of the grocery stores will do white label products. So their products where it's like great value or anything like that, that is a white label product, and they will work with different manufacturers to bid on the ability to white label their products. So now those suppliers can actually log in, update their information, make sure that all their documentation is there, make sure their profile's there, update their products, update their pricing. So it really comes in handy whenever we're talking about any type of like RFX, RFI type of situation. Another benefit that we get with this is we have a new portal per se. We have a new shopping hub, a new catalog. There is a lot of differences between Shopping Hub and Service Catalog, though. Service Catalog is still going to be your main benefit with customers. They're still going to be able to log in and present or ask for support. They're able to log in and request different hardware items, different software items. Anything that you would typically put in the Service Catalog is still going to be in the Service Catalog. Now, though, whenever you're getting into Shopping Hub, you're actually getting into those supplier products. Supplier products can be created from any type of model within the CMDB. And those supplier products, whenever you go through Shopping Hub, it is forcing it to go down the procurement route. So you're going to get into budget reviews, any type of negotiations with the suppliers, any type of approvals that have to go into that. So it forces it to go down a procurement route as opposed to checking inventory or maybe routing it to a assignment group to get support on it. So that is a good high level of this. A lot of my time is actually going to be spent in a demo. All right, so I've got procurement case management up. I really wanted to go through the menu here first to show. So we have multiple different sections here. Procurement operations management has two subsections of products. It's procurement service management and supplier lifecycle management. The supplier lifecycle management, I'll just go through this really quick because I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. Suppliers are able to work on their own profile. They're able to update their own knowledge articles, or a supplier manager will be able to update their own knowledge articles. And then there are different cases that you can actually open up for the specific suppliers. So like create a case around updating banking details or updating the supplier's profile or add or remove locations. So you can have those cases to track the status of those tasks where the supplier is updating that information or you are updating that information for them. Then there is also the supplier collaboration portal. So the supplier collaboration portal is where the suppliers will actually log in to like an external portal, and they will be able to log in and update their own information as an external company. So yeah, it is external companies that can log in and You will provide them login details. It is an external portal that they can get into, and they will be in charge of updating their information. So you can actually assign them tasks or assign them cases for them to be able to update that information. From the internal side, there is a supplier lifecycle management workspace that you can get into. And that workspace is for like a supplier manager internally to manage all of this information, to actually keep track of the cases that are going out, or keep track of the tasks, and they can follow up with those suppliers in order to ask them like, hey, you've had this task out there for a while, we need to get this information going, or else you're going to miss out on the RFP deadline, something like that. I don't have any of the data, the demo data in here, but this is where that supplier management workspace, this is where that person would work. So there is one additional feature within supplier lifecycle management. There's the supplier intelligence. It's related to external integrations. There are some out-of-the-box integrations where it's easy to set up an integration with a customer system in order to pull that information in, but it is kind of its own thing right now. I don't have anything set up on this demo instance to show it, but that is a feature of this.
No, I have a general question, Shayne. I have to leave on the half hour, so I don't know if you're going to address this, but hopefully will. Ultimately this going to replace the procurement module that we know and all love today?
No, it does incorporate that.
Okay.
So,
but it's not going to help with those tasks for hardware and software asset management and all that.
No, and I'm actually going to hit that at part of the demo today. Whenever you are looking at like a hardware model, there is still going to be a separate catalog item that goes to the service catalog and a supplier product that goes to Shopping Hub. And so you're still going to have those two separate processes, those two separate workflows, and it's still going to utilize the out-of-the-box procurement module. So I'll go through the rest of these menu items here. So purchase automation. There's a lot of automation that we can actually get involved with within procurement service management. And I'm actually going to go through Shopping Hub to show you some of that automation. So we're looking at the procurement workspace. This is the second workspace that comes with procurement operations management. And this will allow you to actually look at any of the tasks that come up from the procurement cases and keep track of that. There's also the different sourcing requests, the different requisitions. Negotiations are part of any type of that procurement process where you're negotiating with the supplier. We can get into any type of order information. So these purchase orders, that actually is going to be the old procurement module. So purchase orders, purchase order line items, this area is actually pulling in information from that. Receipt acknowledgement. So if you've worked with the old procurement solution, there is a way of receiving products in there. So we can actually get receipt acknowledgement here. We can actually handle more information with it, though, with specific receipt tasks, any type of shipment details or prepayment options, milestones. So there's a lot that goes into the receipt of a product as well. Primary data. So this is where, if you're starting an implementation, this is where you will stay for a little while, because we need to update the supplier information. We need to update their supplier products. The supplier products are actually created from the models. So in your CMDB model table, you'll have to make sure that you have all of those products or all of those models there that will become products specifically. You can update your locations, your ledger accounts. So this is where a lot of that information is going to have to come from the customer. And then we get into our administration. So this is where we'll get into the automation side of this. So approval rules. How do we need to set up any approvals for the requests that are coming through Shopping Hub? Ledger assignment rules. So who's going to pay for this? How are we tracking that in our financial ledger? And then purchasing assignment rules. So you'll see whenever I go through the Shopping Hub automation here, it automatically gets assigned to somebody. So this is going through that purchasing assignment rules section here. And a lot of the case and task creation comes from the decision tables in this. And so after we go through the process in Shopping Hub, I'll actually open this up and show you. Procurement case management is a big portion of this. So we can actually look at the different cases and the knowledge articles that go along with it. We also have procurement workspace here. It's the same workspace that was above. And then we have Shopping Hub. So I'm actually going to go into Shopping Hub here, but there's a lot of configuration that we can get into. And I've mentioned the models a couple of times. So we have an entire section dedicated to model management here that we will get into creating those supplier products. So let me jump over to Shopping Hub. And I'm going to do two different items here. One of them is going to go through and create a purchase requisition, and then the other one is going to create a sourcing request. So this is a supplier product, and we have our supplier, which is Bright Carbon, and it is a service. And so we have a specific price for it. We want to purchase by quantity, so we can request to buy it. This checkout over here is actually a record producer. So since this is going to be either a sourcing request or a purchase requisition, it has a record producer that puts it directly into those tables. And so we can say, I have a time frame that I need this by. We're going to throw a couple of weeks out there and save it. I'm just going to do a test here. You can actually change this checkout here. This is called a sourcing checkout. You can change this, and I'll show it whenever we get to the model management side of this, but this is using one of the out-of-the-box features here, and we can modify this to be exactly what the customer wants. So we'll go ahead and complete the checkout. You can see we have PRL, so this is a purchase requisition that was created from this. And so I will go ahead and review the purchase here. And as a customer going into this, or as an end user going into this portal, you can actually see your status here. And so they'll be able to watch it go through and see whenever it's finally closed. And before we get too far into this, I'm actually going to go through this one. So if we're looking at a product, something like this, we can actually request pricing and we can negotiate based on our budget. So I'll say my budget is $100 and we can request the pricing info. And you see we have a different checkout now. So I need a quote for this product. We have different information that we'll fill out here. If I don't need a quote, let's say I just need more information. Is this a purchase for an existing project? No. And the reason I did this is because it's easier to fill out here. But you can see how it changes. This is exactly how you would fill out for like a catalog item, different variables. And this is actually built out in Catalog Builder. So we'll submit that and we can review the request. And so this is actually a sourcing request here. So let me go through back over here. So we get to see all the sourcing requests. And we can see the one that I just entered here, that battery. And so we have our sourcing request, we have our purchase lines, and then part of this process, so somebody would come in here who's in charge of the procurement section, the procurement manager, and they would go through and begin the qualification. So once we begin the qualification, you'll see it actually created a budget review. And so we'll actually have this case that we need to go through and confirm. And you could fill out all this information here. There isn't actually a flow that tracks kind of where this information goes. So it depends on the process for each customer, how they want to do this. How do we handle when the states are changed, who it's assigned to, any of the activities or anything goes on, if there's any procurement tasks that need to get created. All of that is configurable in the decision tables. And so we'll go through and confirm. And if I did this right, we would have another case that is created. So I'm just going back to the sourcing request. And you can see we have another case that was created. So this one is send NDA for signature because we don't have any NDAs on file. If we had an NDA or any other contracts on file, it would actually show up in this contracts related list here. And so I'll go ahead and confirm this. And we're done there. And so with this one, there isn't actually anything else that we'll do with the cases. So it just depends. Now that it is qualified and we are good, we can actually start having a procurement manager work through, and either if we need to go with negotiations, we can add the procurement line or the purchase line to a negotiation. Let me open that up. So we can add this to a negotiation if we need to. We'll need to fill out additional information here. Or we can actually move this into close complete once it's approved, and we can go ahead and purchase it. So let me go to the requisitions. And the requisitions are a little different. So there was a question in chat, did it capture what their budget was anywhere? So on the purchase line in the sourcing request, it captures their maximum budget. So we have our purchase requisitions here. So this is another one of the tables whenever you're filling information out on Shopping Hub. This is where one of those goes. So we looked at Bright Carbon, one of the items that we ordered earlier. And this one has a little bit different of a flow that goes along with it. So we have related contracts. So we actually have information here already. We have a case for a general ledger coding review. And all of this is actually created based on the decision tables. So actually, I'm going to go over to the decision tables now and show you where that information is. So if we look at sourcing, so there is a sourcing request task and case generation rule. So this is the one whenever we saw the NDA case get created and we saw the budget review case get created. It actually gets created through the decision table here. So yeah, another question, does it support CapEx or OpEx at the purchase line level? Yes, so you can actually set your CapEx account or your expense account information here. So it is on the purchase line. So in this decision table, so you can actually see we had our first task was a budget review. And then our first case was a budget review. And our second case was the send NDA for signature. So we can actually look at these. And actually, I do want to open up this contract one. So the contract one did not get created. And if there is a contract review, if there is a contract already attached to this customer, so we can see associated contracts is not empty. So if they would have had a associated contract, then this case would have actually been created as well. So you can see this information here. So if you need to modify the decision table, you can actually add in additional cases that get created or tasks that get created, and you can set the filters for what is required once it gets created. So we only went through the first two, so budget review and send NDA. But if there's some additional cases, you can set that up for the customer to be able to automate that case generation and have it follow their own process. And these are actually created based on these templates here. And so we can see once we create the case, we have all this information here for who it's going to go to. There are specific assignment groups that came over with procurement service management. So it's automatically assigning it to that group. We have our short description and information, so that case gets created based on this information here. Another thing I wanted to show were the purchasing assignment rules. So we have PR assignment rules here, sourcing request, any type of PR assignment or sourcing request that's going to be related to the purchase requisition or sourcing request that we created through Shopping Hub. And so those are going to get auto-assigned to these different people. So I'm actually going to impersonate Warren and show you what that workspace will look like with all the different assignments. All right, so you can see Warren has quite a few tasks that are assigned to him. Some of them need a final review. Some of them are new to review. We have the distribution of work, so negotiation events, procurement cases, purchase requisitions, or sourcing requests. So all of that information coming through. Since Warren is one of the managers of the procurement division, this is where they will live. So we can have the supplier resources here. So I actually want to show, if we look at requisitions, so this one that we did. So we can see additional information here. We have our cases like earlier. So we'll go ahead and confirm this case. Okay, yeah, it was the requisite or the sourcing request. So there is one where, actually here, it's grayed out here. So on the sourcing requests, you can actually add those to negotiation events. So you can actually create the negotiation events, and that will support the conversation with the customer. And so you can add any type of sourcing request to the negotiation events, and that will provide the information necessary during those negotiations. That was the other one that I wanted to show here. So we went through the Shopping Hub side. We showed how a request is submitted. We showed how it is using the record producers to add into either the sourcing request tables or the purchase requisition tables. And then I've showed how the fulfiller side is done. So we'll go actually into the purchase requests or the sourcing requests and go through that process. That process is handled by the decision tables. And the different cases that come up are based on how that decision table is set. And the different managers are assigned, or the different people that are assigned are based on the purchase requisition assignment rules. So we are going to look at one of these iPads. So we're looking at the iPad right now, so we can actually see there is a related link here for publishing to hardware catalog. So this is your hardware model. You can still publish it to the service catalog, just how we've done with hardware models or software models in the past. That does go into the service catalog. The biggest difference is once it goes into the service catalog, you can actually configure the way of checking inventory. So for hardware, you're going to check your stock rooms. For software, you're going to check your entitlements to see if there are allocations available. The shopping hub and procurement service management side does not do that. Once you go into shopping hub and you request an item, that is telling the system that you need to purchase this item. So if you have inventory for something, you want to make sure that you can actually have somebody go to the service catalog and request it. That being said, we're going to focus on the supplier product side here today. So we have all of this information for the hardware item here. We can actually create a supplier product, or this one's already been created, but there would actually be a related link for creating a supplier product as well. And then once we go into that, you'll see some of the additional tables here. So purchasing automation. We have some additional information here for that purchase, or for that purchase automation. And then once we go into the supplier product, we have additional information here. So we have our pricing set for this, and we can actually set that up to where whenever you saw the purchase of one of the items earlier, there was a price on the shopping hub. So you can set that pricing here. You can set product visuals if there are any images that you want to show, any type of ledger assignment rules as to where this would come from. And then I mentioned that sourcing checkout earlier, whenever that window popped up to the side, and that was the record producer, you can actually create additional sourcing checkouts here, and you can set them for specific supplier products to use. So I did create a custom one just for testing. I'm not going to show it right now, but it is utilizing Catalog Builder to create the variables and have the questions gone through just like you would create a regular catalog item.
Do we know if there's any training available on Now Learning yet, or if it's coming up?
Yes, there are actually two different classes. There is the Procurement Service Management class, which is really just a knowledge dump. It has a lot of videos and PDFs and PowerPoints that you can go through. And then there is also a Procurement Operations Management that actually has the videos that go along with it, and it has labs, and it provides you with a class instance. And so you can actually go through and do the labs with the Procurement Operations Management class. There is a Slack channel. It's the Emerging Products Procurement Service Management channel. That one actually has all of that information in there. We've posted the classes in there and posted additional information in there for any type of learning that you want to do. Well, I hope this was beneficial for everybody. If you have any questions after this that come up, please feel free to ping me. If I don't know it, I should at least know where to look for the answer.